Good morning, hello, and welcome to yet another episode of Leadership Series, where We Matter brings to you the journey, insights, and expertise from leaders and influential people across the corporate world. Today, we have with us Mr. Augustus Azaria. Hello, sir.
Hi.
A human resources professional, keynote speaker, striving towards driving gender equity and inclusive world. Mr. Azaria has an experience in human resources for over 25 years. Regional director at Kyndryl since 2021. He has spent his past few years contributing to employee engagement, believing it to be a key driver for growth in any organization, and utilizing the power of advanced analytics, thereby helping employees seamlessly transition into the workplace of the future. Thank you, sir, for being here and providing us with your valuable time. So, sir, 25 years is a huge time frame. I think I can't even begin to contemplate because your experience is way more than my current age, actually. So, could you share something about your 25-year journey in human resources, highlighting the key milestones and the experiences that have shaped you into a person so passionate about people development?
Thank you so much, Asta, for that question. And yeah, sometimes I feel I'm a dinosaur in this world. Okay, but I continue to learn. So yeah, to sum up, it's more than 25. It's close to 3 decades, I think. So to summarize, what happened over these years, in terms of my journey, I actually started off in the sales and marketing function. Okay, which is, in those days, this was about selling hardware, desktops, the big clunky desktops. And also, it was the beginning of India's rise as a global technology center. And therefore, it started off with what you call as professional services, where we were only sending warm bodies out of India to opportunities in the US and other markets. And what I found on this was I needed to understand the technology very much in depth. And how do we identify the right people to send? Okay, so this could have been in any of those areas, right? From legacy systems to mainframes and so on and so forth. Okay, this brought me to HR, where I would go with these requirements to HR so that I needed the right people to send, And at that time, the technology adaptation in HR is not as much as it is today. And therefore, my HR colleagues didn't understand the business language or even the technology language that was prevalent. And I couldn't fulfill quite a few customer requirements because I wasn't getting the right resources. So one day I told my boss, hey, look, this is not working. Well, why don't I go the other side and look at recruitment, talent acquisition, and what you call it to make sure that we get the right fit for our clients. And that's when my journey into HR started. So I went into TA, talent acquisition, staffing at that time. It used to be called a recruitment, and then tried to map client requirements to our hiring needs. Okay. And therefore, once we started doing that and we had few initial successes of sending people to the various client locations, I thought this was good. And realized that my passion was for people. And with a strong understanding of the business, I liked what I saw. And also, within myself, I think I discovered a part of me which told me, hey, I think you'll do better here than any other function. So I chose to stay on, and it's been a good ride from then. Thank you.
That is actually amazing. That's almost surreal that you went from this place of working with the hardware, and then even when you weren't managing people, you actually were managing people. So that's amazing. I would also like to ask that whenever there is in large organization, as you just discussed, that it was a little problem with people. All right. So how do you, now that you have the experience of over 25 years and almost 3 decades, how do you approach the challenge of aligning the diverse individual needs with the overall goals of the organization when it comes to people development?
Good question. Thank you, Asta. So I'll give you some of my experiences here. Okay. Now, earlier it used to be, you know, client or a business value proposition or business objectives, and then you bring it down to your people objectives and align them. That hasn't changed. Okay. But what has definitely come to the core now is people trying to find purpose in what they're doing. Okay. And I call it purpose driven work. And individual purposes need to be aligned to the corporate goals, corporate purposes. Let me tell you a story to drive home this point. Okay. So there was this lady in a large IT MNC working as a technical manager, having great respect from her colleagues. And she has traveled the world, met clients, brought in business, and so on and so forth. And one fine day, post the, we all went through the COVID and all that. I'm not going to get into that, but post that, she started thinking, more deeply about life and what is the purpose that she has. And then she realizes that, she thinks so much about having clean air. She wants to do something about the pollution that is there. And then she has this opportunity from this very large airline company to join them, And she contemplates that and then says, okay, let me have a chat with my boss and tell him, look, I'm really contemplating moving. So she has this meeting with her manager, and her manager says, yeah, I know that you care a lot about the environment and you want to do something about clean air and, stopping all this pollution. But why would you join an airline company? Because an airline company, airlines are the largest polluters, right? So she says, exactly for that reason, I'm joining that company because my role is to help the organization reduce its carbon footprint and to look at various other sustainable modes and bring us to a carbon neutrality over a period of time. So I'm leading this project. Therefore, every line of Java code that I'm going to be writing resonates with my value system, which means that I am providing clean air for every line of code that I write. So once it resonates with my value system, and I know that the organization has a similar value system, so we're engaged. And once engagement happens, I'm very happy about it. Okay. So I'm happy at work. I'm satisfied with what I am doing. I gain a lot of friends and colleagues who are thinking and moving towards the same objective. And that gives me a fantastic sense of engagement with the organization. Therefore, I'm hooking my purpose in life to the purpose of the organization and aligning them both.
That's actually amazing that people are finally not just working for the money portion of it, but they are also working to fulfill their self-actualization needs. You also talked about employee engagement in this
Yeah.
point. So I would like to know that for quite some time you have been a part of employee engagement activities and employee well-being. So can you share some specific strategies or any initiatives that you found particularly effective when it comes to providing satisfaction or happiness to the workforce and enhancing the stakeholder value?
That absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a great question again. And happiness is such a huge and vast subject, in terms of what brings you happiness may not be the same thing for me. So
Yeah.
I think you used the word diverse over there because you can't do a one size fits all. Okay. So that's the first thing. Now, in terms of engagement that you brought in here, and wellness, now all these go hand in hand, right? Being actively engaged results in well-being, and if you are fine and you are fit, you perform better, your productivity is higher, and so on and so forth. So therefore, organizations keep driving wellness in their organizations. And wellness is just not physical wellness, it's about mental wellness. It's also about financial wellness, okay? Because we see that, you might be wondering why is bringing financial wellness there, because the causes of stress and anxiety to a very large extent is also due to people's lack of financial knowledge, and therefore that results in something. So overall wellness would cover all these things. But I'll give you an example. What happened in 2021 when we all went remote and working. Everyone was in their own homes or PG accommodations and trying to be productive, okay, working remotely. But what we found is that some of those in PGs, there were challenges in terms of electricity, in terms of UPS, in terms of the network speed and the stability of the network, as well as, food, because some places had shut down. So a lot of these things were there, and then people were not fully equipped, in terms of what they need to be productive. Okay. I know of folks who couldn't even get a table and a chair. Okay. So we did a very short study in terms of what is required. So we said the first thing is let's provide people an ergonomic chair and a desk, headphones that are noise canceling, UPS so that they have the right power that's uninterrupted. And of course, the opportunity to go and find the best broadband provider for them. And then we said we will pay the bills for all these expenses that you would incur. And why did we do this? According to the ILO, International Labour Organization, an employer has a responsibility called the duty of care. Now, what is the duty of care? The duty of care is basically to provide the right tools, environment, processes, learning, etc., for the employee to be productive, safety included. So, when you put the duty of care and the responsibility of the employer, you provide all these things, and what happens is that the employee is empowered. They're empowered, they are happy, they are in good health, hopefully, and therefore they ensure that they produce effectively for you, and at the same time that they comply with the organization's requirements, whether it is about data privacy, it is about confidentiality of information, and so on and so forth, because they're working in a remote environment. And therefore, trust and compliance undergirds this whole relationship. And the corollary out of this is happiness, engagement, and so on and so forth. So that was one of the experiences. Thank you.
It's great to know that a single step towards identifying what people actually need leads to this amazing kind of results. So, my next question would be that you talk a lot about workforce. So, how do you think that with the ongoing transformation in the workplace driven by technology, how do you navigate the challenges that are posed to the traditional HR policies and practices? And also, how do you think that lifestyle changes and evolving behaviors impact an HR's approach towards managing the workforce?
That's a long question. Thank you. I'll try to address that how I can. So, yeah, I think we are rooted in traditional HR programs and policies because it has um, come from tremendous levels of experience and people's focus on both the human resources strategy as well as what the organization or the business wants. So to a large extent, I would say that the fundamentals are there. HR has delivered to a very large extent. And today, with HR at the table, there is so much more to do. Okay. So to grow on what has already been established. Okay. Now, sometimes what we do is that, we've had to rip off some of those programs and policies and which are dated, and then come up with something better. Right. Like, for example, today the focus is on trust and compliance because you're handling data remotely, so you need to have that personal trust and compliance. Two, people's empathy, whether it is the manager handling somebody who is remote or vice versa, there is both empathy as well as what I would what I would call the professionalism that is required. Because sometimes what happens is that having been in the traditional HR method, you have everybody in line of sight. I can see Asta here, or I can see somebody there, and therefore we're just a call away, or shout away, or a coffee away, right? But the remote working environment or the flexible work environment of today requires a different style. Okay. So, first thing is that you need to tell your supervisors and managers to get off that mindset, which is out of sight is out of mind. Firstly, recognize and respect people's virtual presence. Okay. That is important. So the respect for the individual continues to be there. And then you say, look, we are in a virtual environment and let's make this work for us. Which means that as a supervisor, I don't expect somebody working remote to be always on. The expectation from people, if I say I'm working remote, is that I'm available throughout. No, I have my own priorities too. So I'm not always on. I'm available during this time, and I work out that with my manager. Okay. So earlier, buses would pick up people and bring them into the office and drop them home. A lot of that has today changed, right? Certain roles and responsibilities, certain positions require you to do that work from office or from client location. You discuss that with your manager, and then you see which is the best working method that is good for you, okay, as well as for the client. So, which means that you would work, let's say, 3 days a week from home, 2 days at client, 1 day at office, or whatever the case may be. Okay, that arrangement needs to be done with your manager, and you need to be provided all those tools for you to be equipped. Then the most important thing here, again, is policies, like you brought up. There is a policy for you to work from home. Work from home, first of all, is not an entitlement. Work from home is not going to be, is a business decision. It would require you to work depending on your business, where to work. Okay. So manager is clearly that. Then how do you measure productivity? How do you ensure that the person is adequately trained, and how do you build collaboration? Okay. And therefore there is the need for you to get people into organizations on certain days. Okay. Because when you bring people together across the table, what happens is that they collaborate. And once you collaborate, it fosters innovation. So organizations that have to continuously innovate need to do this to bring their offices and employees together so that it fosters innovation and team spirit. Now, in remote working, the most important aspect of this is culture. You have to build the right culture, drive those cultural behaviors so that you get the adequate outcomes of it. Okay. So culture underscores everything, or rather, it undergirds your whole people strategy. Thank you.
I think I can actually resonate with you on this that, working as someone who has worked remotely during the COVID times, I can actually resonate with the kind of disconnect that every employee feels from the organization. And it's amazing to know the employer's side of it, the HR side of it, on how they can work towards building a culture and providing the well deserved virtual presence, the well deserved kind of credit that it should have. My next question is that you talked a lot about the remote part of it, and how providing remote work is actually a business decision. How do you think that when it comes to talent acquisition, how do you think that the role of technology is going to promote sustainability and break down political as well as geographical boundaries in talent acquisition?
Brilliant question. Some time back, I had spoken about talent and blurring political borders, which means that the organization, of course, buys that talent by paying your salary or whatever it is. But the organization doesn't own the individual. And therefore, the individual must be free to pursue upskilling themselves, growing their career and knowledge, and so on and so forth. And then, if they have gone and declared themselves as a gig worker, they follow certain guidelines to ensure that they work for different organizations by sharing their knowledge and expertise and skills. All right. So that is one part of it, right? That is about how political borders will blur, because the power of people will go beyond your political borders. Okay. And at some point of time, like even now, we have a lot of cross border businesses that are happening, right? We call it global mobility and various other names, right? And that was going to continue. And with technology, you really don't need to get there, but you can sit wherever you are and do the work for maybe Costa Rica or whatever other country requires that kind of work. Okay, that's one part of the answer. Second part of the answer is about TA itself. So with technology and with flexible work options, the role of talent acquisition has only increased and become more effective. And the opportunities are greater for us to get the talent in, which means that today we unlock a lot of talent because of flexible work options. You may have read a few years ago, there are job appointment advertisements which would say people within this vicinity or within so many mile radius of this organization can only come and work. Okay. Yes, that might still be prevalent if you're working on an oil rig, okay, offshore oil rig, okay, because you can't really go there every day and come, right? But there are various jobs today that unlock resources. There's somebody who has a mobility challenge and is unable to come from a city, town, village into the office, okay? And the office is probably not accessible, all right? So you unlock talent for that person. There have been others, like I know for a fact, being having worked closely with women empowerment, that after making a family, women find themselves um, unable to come back into the workforce, okay, because of their familial requirements at home. And therefore, working remote has unlocked that part of talent, okay. So they are now able to deliver online, okay, as against them having that challenge of coming to office. So like that, there have been various scenarios, and therefore talent acquisition uses technology, and in today's era of flexible work options, make sure that they attract the people, give them the right opportunity. And also, it's not about just opportunity. TA should go and again, align to business. This is not just about going and finding warm bodies, right? This is about articulating the culture of the organization that you're going to be joining. Okay. And then when they are onboarding those people, it's so important that you do it. Sometimes it is done, digitally, but virtually, I mean, but most of the times it is done face to face, because they can come, they meet their leaders, they meet their managers, they meet their colleagues, they see the work environment, they see the clients and what kind of work that we are doing. So it's so important to build that, to integrate, both remote as well as on-site work effectively. Thanks.
I think it's amazing that we have finally broken this barrier of talent acquisition. Knowing a lot of people from my mom's generation who had to leave work because they had kids, simply because they got married off to another city or something, and they had to give up on their dreams. It's amazing that flexibility in workplace is actually now promoting women empowerment indirectly, and it is a really good initiative also, I think. Talking about BCIC, can you share some insights into your role as the chairman of BCIC, the HR expert committee, and now the management committee?
Thank you, Asta. So it's a chamber like any other trade body, Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce. And we have been in the forefront of providing businesses and industries a voice to the government, all right? Whether it is about public policy initiatives that we want to do, so creating white papers, delivering that to the government, sitting on various subcommittees, working alongside public policy experts to ensure that our policies or laws are not just present, but they are futuristic too, okay? And they help grow the business, all right? And then the other thing, of course, is in the HR and women's empowerment expert committees, we focus on providing knowledge through webinars or through seminars and various other modes where all our members, it is made up of SMEs, it's made up of consultants and various other components. So it is what I would call cross-sectoral. So there are the big top Indian companies, and there are also the small and medium enterprises. There are women-run enterprises. There are individually run consultants, and we have to provide for all of them, which serves as a knowledge platform. So this is a knowledge platform where we share. So typically, let's take, for example, in terms of women empowerment, we would be advising various companies in terms of what should be your diversity and inclusiveness policy or program. How do you go and drive it? Now, the large organizations have done this, and that is, a specialization that they have. But the small organizations and the medium ones do not have that kind of a bandwidth to focus only on this. But if we are able to go and articulate to them that it makes business sense for you to adopt a policy of diversity and inclusiveness, this will not only help the type of people who you're going to be hiring, this will also enable your bottom line. So the moment you say that this is a business decision, this is not about charity, this is about business. And this helps your organization when you have a diverse and inclusive policy. So we help them and ask them to go and announce a policy of inclusiveness and diversity in the workplace. Thank you.
That's amazing, actually. And how do you think that, being a part of the industry from so much of time, what do you think that this association with BCIC has influenced your perspective on industry trends and the challenges? Like you talked about a lot of challenges that are posed when it comes to flexibility at workplace and inclusivity and gender diversity. So, how do you think that your association with BCIC has influenced your perspective on that?
Yeah, I've been more of a thought leader here, Asta. And, BCIC has given me the platform, okay, for me to articulate my thoughts. And many people have taken those thoughts and applied it as policies, processes, or tools, okay? And therefore, that in turn has enabled our industry. So I think it's a great platform. It's cross-sectoral. I learn a lot, okay? In terms of not because I come from the IT services sector, and there are people from manufacturing and automobile and fintech, financial services, you name it, okay, they are there. And therefore, me interacting with people on the platform enhances my knowledge and enables me to understand unique situations that each of these sectors have. Thank you.
It's actually very inspiring that even at your level of experience, you are still looking for ways to actually learn more about the diverse areas in different sectors. I would also like to know your thoughts or your advice that you would like to offer to young HR professionals, businesses, and individuals who are preparing for what you call the future of the workplace.
Well, I wouldn't say advice because I think advice is the worst form of vice. So I will just say this, one is, I think, be open to embrace change, all right? And the moment you're able to embrace change, you start building your adaptability. Be adaptable to newer scenarios and situations. That will help in your success. And at the same time, treat people with respect, okay? In all that you do, respect for the individual is the cornerstone or rather the foundation stone on which all of our businesses should be built. And, the other things like D&I and various things come into place. Last but not least, is your self-development. Okay. At any cost, you should not stop learning. And I say this, the day you stop learning, you die. I mean, you don't die physically, but you you put to rest your mental faculties. All right. So until the last breath, you continue to learn. Because when you learn, automatically you start giving back. Okay. And whether it is about building a $10 trillion economy or a $1 trillion economy, each one of us has that unique potential to contribute to that goal, that nation building goal. Okay. And I'm very clear that whoever I speak to, I don't give them advice, but I say, look, be open, be adaptable, have respect for the individual, put people at the core of what you are doing. And of course, make sure that you are able to achieve those goals and take good care of yourself, because wellness is very important and your well-being comes first before you go and preach to the others. Thank you.
That's amazing. Uh, I would also like to know that what are, in your point of view, the critical factors for success in this evolving world of HR and people development?
Well, openness, definitely, having an open mind and to embrace change. I've already said that. So openness is, that ability to take risks, and also saying that, hey, look, I might fail, but you go ahead, fail fast, and then move on to the next one. So I think top one will be the risk-taking ability and then adaptability to it.
Okay. Now I would also like to know about the do's and don'ts that you consider essential as a leader, that two actions that you should refrain from doing as a leader and two actions that you should definitely do as a leader.
Okay, what you don't do, we'll go at it first. Don't violate your company's protocols. That's the first don't. Okay. And violation there is not about risk taking. The organization has put together some conduct guidelines. Make sure that whatever you do, you stay within the confines of business, ethical business conduct. Okay. So that's definitely a big don't. The do's. I think the do's is a huge list of things, right? Um, so one is, I've all spoken about adaptability, embracing change, and so on and so forth. They can continue to be there. But in terms of your leadership skills, what is it? Okay. For me, if I put myself, first of all, it will be people development, to understand my own role in terms of people development. And then when you're working for a corporate or a business, even if you're in HR, it's important that you understand what business you're in. Okay. If you're a mining company, you better know everything about mining. If you're into IT security, know everything about IT security, the products, the markets, the skills that you require, and everything. So knowing your product is very, very important for a HR professional, irrespective of the sector that you're going to be working at. It's not just domain expertise in HR that will get you places, but you must be able to understand the business, right? That's what I have to share. And lastly, when you say people are our biggest asset, make sure that they are there, published in your annual report in banner headline, that people are your biggest asset. Don't put it on page 19 at 10 point font, okay? Go and state it. And lastly, of course, to add to it, celebrate the moment. Celebrate every moment and have fun at work. Okay. Once you do all these things, I'm sure you will have a great career or continue to enjoy the kind of career that one is building for yourself. Thank you, Asta.
Thank you so much, sir. It was very inspiring. I would like to know your final thoughts about, gender diversity and inclusion at workplace, because you're such an ardent supporter of gender diversity and inclusion. That I want to know your thoughts on this.
Okay, my thoughts on this is it's an imperative. It's a business imperative today. All right. It's not a good thing to have. And that's why I tell people, go and try this out and see the kind of transformation it will bring about to your business. And I have seen this. I have seen it in IBM, where I spent 23 years of my working life. And I have seen it in other organizations before that, where it has helped us. And the spirit of inclusiveness, you learn to be non-judgmental. That's the first thing. The moment you're non-judgmental, you see the person for what they are able to deliver, and not for their uh, sexual orientations or any of those things. You look at person, a person as an individual. Okay, a whole creation of God, if you believe in God. And the moment you start doing that, you accept the person for what they are by being non-judgmental, and you provide them that kind of space, that kind of inspiration, as well as that kind of an environment or an ecosystem for them to flower and bring about their best, and contribute their best to the organization. They're like anybody else. So D&I is going to be the cornerstone of what you're doing. It's not a nice to do, it's a must have business imperative today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Your thoughts about how gender diversity and inclusion is more about a business decision, looking at it from a strategic point of view rather than just an add-on to whatever your strategies for having good profits is actually amazing and inspiring. Thank you so much for giving us your valuable time. I just feel very fortunate to be here taking your interview today. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. You've been very kind, Asta, and your questions have been very well thought of, and I truly appreciate that. And I wish you all the best in your career, and take care and have a great rest of the day. Bye bye.